we'll see if this works. I don't know how much, is this better than me just yelling at you, or does that help?
Yeah.
All you old hard of hearing people.
But it's fun yelling at you.
Yeah, yeah, hey, hey,
I resemble that remark.
yes, you do. Okay. Um. There, we're up. Look at that. I'm going to do a birdhouse ornament demonstration today. Given the situation with the lathes, I was going to bring in a mini and do it on that. I said, so it's a no turning demonstration. I might point to things and talk about a lathe, but that's it. Okay. It's a sad bunch of people. Okay, just to get started, I want to encourage people to come up here and do this. Don't be afraid to come up and demonstrate. We've all made fools of ourselves in public. This is just another opportunity to hone that skill. For those of you with the show and tells, Jeff is saying, let's try to keep show and tells moving and keep them going. If you've got something that really needs explaining, we have tips and tricks days or other days like that. That's a great day to do a mini demo. It gives you some practice doing the mini demo. Okay. So I encourage folks to stand up here and do it. You can't do anything wrong up here. Okay, so we're going to start off small. I want to start off small and have a big finish. So,
Oh my God.
that's the beginning. And I was going to do this for Lenny, but Lenny has left. You want me to put that up there?
There you go.
Yeah, Lenny, for the folks at home, Lenny had to leave, so I did show this to him. When it goes around, I want you to notice, I don't know if it'll show or not, I don't want you to notice that the perch was turned. And it only took me 15 minutes to get that thing glued in because I kept dropping it. So, is it hollow? We'll never know. So start small, probably want to have a big finish. And you're thinking in the club, small and delicate, who do you think of? Probably Lenny, and there's some others that do some nice small things, but if you want to finish big, well, Nigel and, Skip, the guys do some big stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I should do something big. Okay. Now, I wasn't able to bring that one in. Okay. A little too big, a little too big, sitting up there on a chain hoist, it was something. Way too much time preparing for this demo. Okay.
What's it weigh?
What's it weigh? I didn't have a scale. It's a good question though. All right. Could be. Next phone that goes off is $5 for the club. Okay, so everybody silence their phones.
They can't even do it.
Do what we can. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Here's what I'm going to cover today. And I'm probably going to keep you guys here about an hour, so we'll get out early, I hope. All right, I'll go through my history of making birdhouses. I had them sitting up there early, and you got to see them. You'll get to see them again. I've been doing birdhouses for 20 years or so. I started in the club. When I first joined the club in 2001 or whatever, there was a member, Brad Bradford, you'll remember Brad, and he made birdhouses. And I thought that was pretty cool. And how do you make these birdhouses? And I started making some. And those are the early ones I did. All right, so we'll go through the basic components. So there's 4 parts to make a birdhouse. I'll do the construction part by part. We'll talk about variations. And if you stay to the end, We still have cookies and donuts. And you'll get a bonus. Okay.
And I'll get a free birdhouse.
Ah. I should have had a raffle. I should have had a raffle.
It's not too late.
It's not too late to have a raffle.
Never too late.
Yeah, not too late to want to have a raffle. I'll get money, we'll raise money for the club. All the treasurer has to do is sell tickets. All right. So think about that as you can work that out among yourselves as I'm doing this. Okay, memory lane for me. All right, here we go. I started this way back, so it's the early 2000s, and we'll have fun. We can have fun doing critiques of my birdhouses. You want to, you know, there they were. You saw them hanging. They're big. They're clunky. What about the designs? You know, why did you do that for that birdhouse? Why did you do it this way? What were you trying to do? And I was just trying anything. And I can't remember back to what other guys in the club were doing with these. But I'm sure I was stealing some ideas. You know, we all steal from with our ideas. Okay, then at some point I said, these are really big. Let's get a little smaller. So I pulled them down a little bit in size. That one will be passed around. You'll see that one later. And then if you looked at it, this is about 2008. Here's a little notes that I had hanging in the shop from when I would make one, and then the next year I couldn't remember how to do it. So, you know, then so I finally took notes. That sat on the bulletin board for quite a while. And during that period of time, this is probably what I was making. That's a picture from way back when. And taking these and selling them at craft fairs and whatever. Trying to make enough money to support the habit of wood turning. Okay, now here's two special ones from back then. Now, if you look at these two, I had a piece of spalted oak just laying in the backyard. I took it in the house. I was messing with it. And I don't know if you can see the special stuff in them or not. I'll give you a chance to look at it. All right, look over here. You see anything over in this area? What's that?
See a foot.
This is during Lord of the Rings,
Oh.
and that's Gandalf the Grey. So if you look in here, you can. I didn't put those two dots for the eyes. That was part of the wood, and nice beard, whatever. So that's Gandalf. Or he's left, but that could have been Joe Dickey, you know, so we're not sure. Over on this side, on this one, I see right in here, maybe some birds kind of looking away, maybe. Or if you look up in here, this might be a bighorn sheep or something like that. So these things appear. We never know when stuff like that's going to appear in our wood. So that's from back at that time. I'll critique this one right now for you. What's wrong with that, with the bead on that one? It's not centered. When I drilled the hole, it didn't drill center, and that bead doesn't sit real well. It sits nice and tight on one side, it's loose on the other. Nobody notices that stuff.
No.
Okay. 2017 or so. I've changed the design. I'm doing some other things. I've been on the internet. I've looked at what other people are doing, and I said, hey, I really like what they're doing here or there. And so I'm stealing some ideas, and that's kind of what I'm making. All right. So here's a birdhouse. You have a roof. You have a body, some sort of finial or not. And over here, a perch. Okay. So that's a collection from about then. Geared up for the Christmas season. I had a bunch of those hanging in the house. I make them hang them, make them hang them, so I can see how much inventory I had. A little close up on them. Some different variations on that. We'll talk about variations later. So to get started, what tools do I use for this? I do a lot of 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Okay, a lot of that. I use a 3/8 detail gouge, different size parting tools, negative rake scrapers, a round 1/4 inch skew, all sorts of drill bits. Drill bits of interest though, at the end here, I use the number 59 drill bit for the screw eye, to make the hole for the screw eye. Unless I'm drilling that for African blackwood, which is way too hard, that brass screw will ring off. So I'll go to probably a 55. So you'll get away with, if you're not using a really hard wood, that drill bit will work. So you don't have that drill bit, what do you do?
How does that compare to the 1/16?
A much smaller.
Like half of, I mean,
Yeah,
so after the 16th, then it switches into a different kind of measurement?
there are a number of drill bits.
I'm just not familiar with that, 59, 55, all that stuff.
Okay.
The wire size.
Wire sizes. I know it, brought that, how many times do you say, did I bring everything? And the answer is no. I will find that sooner or later, but anyhow. If you don't have that drill bit, what do? Use a brad, find a small brad, cut the head off of it, chuck it up and go with it.
Over drill it. Put a little drop of glue.
Oh yeah, you can do that, and then you have to worry about glue. I have a pin vise with a 1/16 in it, we'll talk about that later. Some of the things I make for doing embellishments, might use a wire burner. Of course, you're gonna have calipers. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. There's my stuff I laid out after I had practiced all my turning for you. So you can see the different stuff. If you get right here, this is what I was looking for. I hope I didn't take it out and forget it, but I'll pass that around when I find it. But that is the 59 drill bit in a handle that I just keep around. It's just right there by the lathe that I use for drilling for screw eyes in this and in the globe ornaments that I do. So that's pretty much the collection, if you can look at it. Oh, of course, you got to have a bunch of wood. All right, so over the years, I've done this a whole bunch. I've started collecting. Got a scrap. Oh, that scrap's going to work for this. This will work for a birdhouse. This will work for something else. So I've collected wood in various bins. Here's the bodies. This is stuff for the roofs. Hey, got natural bark, and of course these trays help organize all this. And down here, a bunch of little strips that will work for finials and whatever. Okay. All right, basic kit. Basic kit. If you want to make a birdhouse, you're going to need 4 pieces of wood. You're going to need a big piece for the roof, smaller chunk for the body. You're going to need something that you're going to do for the finial or whatever. Okay, I've got a piece of 1/2 inch square oak there. I'm not going to use, but maybe an inch of it. And down here I have this is probably 3/16 square-ish. And that's African blackwood, which makes a really nice perch. Okay. So there's my basic kit. What you saw there is the basic kit. I put it on the lathe, I turned it, poof, there it is, done. Thanks for coming. This was a great demonstration. Okay. All right, so let's look at the body. That's what I'm going to do first when I do these. I'm going to start with the body, and once I have those done, I'm going to try to fit a top to them. I'll try to fit a roof to those later. So this is my beginning. That's the basic size. Maybe a 1 1/8 inch, 1 1/4 inch cube of wood to start with. Okay. I've got a hole drilled down in it. That's a 7/8 hole. Doesn't have to be. It could be 3/4. It depends on what wood you have and what you want to do with it. The bird's got to get in there somehow. So you got to have an entrance. That's a 1/4 inch hole. Going to have to put the perch somewhere, so we'll put the perch down here at a 1/16 inch hole. Okay, so that's basic birdhouse. We'll see those later. You don't need to change the camera, but this is gonna go around later, we'll see this. Okay. All right. First thing that you have to decide is am I gonna drill a hole for the entrance and the perch before I turn it or after I turn it? Okay. If you've got very plain wood, nothing much going on with it, drilling before, a lot easier. It's a square piece of wood, it's flat, you can go to the drill press, you can do it much easier. If you drill it afterwards, now you've got something round, and who knows what other shapes you've got into this, and it's more difficult. So why would you want to wait and do it later? It's because if you're working with figured wood, you don't know what's going to show up. You don't know where the figure is going to, how it's going to look, and you may want to put the hole somewhere else so as you pull attention around to some of the figure that's in it. So you may choose to do that later. If I had drilled this one out first, I might have killed Gandalf. So, all right. So if you're going to have your figured wood and say, okay, I'm going to wait, my suggestion is just turn the cylinder. That'll probably give you enough idea of what your grain's doing and which side you want to put the holes on and whatever. So set it up, turn yourself a cylinder, and then to drill the hole, let's get onto a V block. Okay, go to your drill press. Everybody have a drill press? If not, get one. Otherwise, still use a V block to hold this thing from turning. So here I've got my drill press set up. I'm just showing you here that I'm lining it up so I've got it dead center onto the V. And now you can look at it. If you look closely there, you can see I've already drilled the 1/4 inch hole. I'm getting ready to drill the 16th inch hole. And there it is. Okay, hollow out the body. Why? Why would you want to hollow out the body? To make it lighter. Okay. These things aren't very big. They're not going to have a whole lot of weight, but you can, to hollow it out, to make it lighter. If you choose not to, you're starting off and you're going to say at the end of this is way too complicated. I don't want to have to hollow that body out. Then don't. Make a few of these without hollowing the body. It'll make life easier for you. You'll speed it up. And then later on, you may choose to.
Maybe not sell as well.
What's that?
Maybe not.
They don't know.
I think
But they might, because they might pick up one. Oh, this one's much lighter. And they do that.
Right.
I've not seen the guys do that. I'm sorry. But the ladies will. Oh, this one's much lighter. I like this one, but this one's much lighter. And I've seen that happen.
Buy them both.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay. So what I was able to do with this, I didn't want to do that.
I'm not in control of the video.
I'm in control of this. There we go. All right. So I knew I wasn't going to be doing this demonstration live, and I thought you guys need to see some turning. So you're going to see 3 or 4 or 5 videos today that I shot with an iPhone. Okay, this is just my iPhone sitting up by the lathe, and it's done a pretty good job. Now this is really exciting. We're getting to see a Forstner bit drill a hole in a chunk of wood. Notice on this one, I had already drilled the perch for the perch in the entrance. Okay, if you say, well, boy, you sure don't drill very fast. Okay, my tailstock is slipping. I'm winding, my tailstock is slipping, and it's not doing much. Okay, so anyhow, that's what's going on there. How deep do you drill it? Okay, you might drill it. Well, I'm going to drill it. If you looked at my dimensions, my perch is 5/8 of an inch down from the top. So I want to drill deeper than 5/8. Okay, and just so I can have access to the perch on the inside, because that's where I'm going to put the dab of glue. I'm not going to try to put glue in a 16th inch hole and stick this thing in and not have squeeze out and all that stuff. So I'm going to drill it, like I say, 3/4 of an inch or so. That's why I've got the tape there. So that's my flag. Let me know how deep I've gotten. And so there it is. Sometimes you may choose to drill all the way through. And I do have some of these setups where I will do all the way through. You don't have to drill on the lathe. You might do it on the drill press. Okay, what I found is when I drill these on the drill press is that they does not necessarily drill square to the face of the top. If that's the case, you have to trim it when it gets on the lathe. Okay, so we've drilled it out. We've got this chunk of wood. We've got this chunk of wood. Here, we'll put this. Look at my guy here. He's on. We've got this chunk of wood. We've got a hole in it. And now we're going to put it on the lathe. So we're going to do it with a jam chuck. And I'll pass around the jam chucks. Oh, come on. What can I spill? Everything. That's okay, I'm all right. It didn't hurt me. Aha. Got the wrong chucks. Got the screw chucks. There we go. So here's a box of jam chucks. That's all of these guys. You can see, go back to the picture, it'll be easier. You can see that I have some with Morse taper and some that are just sitting on a little block. For the ones that are just a little block of wood, they go in my 4-jaw chuck. And I've marked the jaws, so the next time I put them in, it goes back again. And it goes back again, and they pretty much run true. I can change them out, and they'll come back and run true all the time. Problem with a Morse taper, you put it in here, you've got it on here, you start to work, what happens? Rattles loose and you're done. So you need to put a drawbar on it. So you got your Morse taper, got a piece of threaded rod. You can set this in, tighten it up, poof, now it'll hold. Nice thing about these, they will run true every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a metal insert right in it in the end of the.
I've got a brass threaded insert in there, yes. And I've got that with me if anybody wants to see it later. Okay, if you want to see it, but you can go to Lowe's, get the rod, get the inserts.
Yeah, I wondered whether you pack the wood or.
Well, I wouldn't trust the wood for
No,
that.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't trust the
I
wood.
just wondered what-
Yeah, and even for the knob, and what I did for the knob is I embedded a nut. I've got a nut embedded in there because when I loosen that up, that's what I'm going to use to tap this out. So this is going to come around. Okay, I'm going to pass this around. V block's in here, so you guys that don't know what a V block is. Little chunk of wood here. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you about it. You figure out what it is. I do have a blank. I've got a blank in here. You can try them onto the jam chucks, and we'll talk about those later too. So we're gonna turn the body. Now, if you notice in this picture, there was a mouse in my shop that was eating the corners of the wood. Actually, I put this in, I was starting the movie, and I started turning and realized I hadn't turned the camera on. So I had to stop and start again. So this is going to be a few minutes. This is going to be a few minutes, and what you're going to see here is this is just a 1/2-inch bowl gouge. It's the same chunk of wood that's coming around that you're going to see in the box, more or less. And I'm just gonna shape it a little bit. And we'll almost sand it.
What's the paper towel for?
Yeah, good question. Then that will be answered later. Thank you. What do I owe you, $1 for that question? Okay. All right, so this is taking a few minutes, but what also, if you look at the jam chucks when they come down, they have a little collar, and that collar is basically the diameter I want to get this to. So I have a lot of uniformity in what I have when I turn these. So I will push toward that. Now I'm still working with a bowl gouge here for a bit, but I'm going to switch to a detail gouge in a minute, and I'll get a better finish on my cut. This is hard maple that's being turned. I think actually this piece is yeah, it is, some quilted maple. And, it is fun watching me turn.
You got too close to the paper towel.
I know. I'll stop that. You know, I said, why don't I just get rid of that paper towel? Because I can't see the collar, but I can't really see where the collar is. And so we'll tear off the paper towel. We'll dig a little more off of this. If this shape, this is it. Pick your shape, do what you want to do with it. Notice on this one, I only drilled this thing down 3/4 of an inch. That leaves me some meat at the bottom that I can curve in. If you drill it all the way through, you're limited now on how much shape you can put on these.
Is the collar the reason you don't use like pin jaws in there? Cause then you can't size it quickly.
You'll see, what do I want to, I guess I can do this now. Let me pass around a bunch of these. And the pin jaw question might get answered. I don't think I can put enough pressure without cracking. Too thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's coming around now is a whole bunch of bodies, different bodies. You may get questions about some of them. I think I can answer most everything by the time we finish. But look at the bodies, look at the different ones, and some have finish on them, some don't.
Have you ever put the finial on? Start with a longer piece of wood there and put the finial.
Yes, I have it. And I think one of my pictures early on, there was a piece where the finial was incorporated into that turn, same wood. And that absolutely. Okay, so look at that, wonderful job. Back to Kent's question. Why the paper towel? You guys all know that, right?
Never had to need these.
Whoa.
I double it up because I overshoot.
Okay, all right. The reason for the paper towel is that when I drilled this out and put it on my jam chuck, it was loose. So what do? Do I turn on another jam chuck or I stick a little pig? Well, actually, what's the first choice if you have something not quite fitting on a jam chuck, a little loose?
Wet was.
Tongue oil. Tongue oil.
Oh.
Tongue oil.
Boy, I hope need to see that.
Oh, people at home want to see tongue oil? Tongue oil.
So do you go directly to the jam chuck or do you put it on the finger and then the jam chuck?
You could treat it as a spittoon in there.
If you eat an orange first, you have half and half.
Ah! There you go.
Is the lake running when you put your tongue on it?
No. Not the second time. So. Be careful with that. I mean, if it's not too loose, you can put too much moisture in there and it will expand and it might not want to come off anytime soon. So you do be careful with that. So on this piece, what had actually happened, and this is what I think, I've used these jam chucks for years. But when I was doing this in the last few weeks, I think the wood has shrunk and they're all loose. And I think come summer, when I do it, they're going to be back to being right. So anyhow, what do? You can put a little piece of paper towel in there. I do a little thin piece, a little piece of tissue, whatever, maybe a little bit of moisture. You can get that on there. Bring up your tailstock, put a little pressure on it. If you're going to have a finial on it, you need to know where that center is anyhow. So that'll work. But you can bring this up and get that so that you can get it turned. And I think every one of those I did for this demonstration, they were all too loose. Okay, so you've got the shape, you've sanded it, and it's wonderful. We're gonna drill it for the finial, and nothing more exciting than watching somebody drill a hole. Okay, so just got a Jacob's chuck in the tail stock, 1/8 inch brad point bit, zoom in out, beautiful. It is done. Okay, any questions about the body? Yeah.
So do you typically do like 2 dozen bodies and then 2 dozen roofs?
Yeah, I try to go in production, because when you're in the whatever piece of wood that you're using, cut a bunch of blanks, change whatever species, cut a bunch of blanks, however you're playing it, and then when you get bored, of it, then you can move on to another part. Okay, so the roof. This is kind of what I'm doing now. This is the shape. You can play with the shapes however you want. What I'm trying to do is make them thinner and lighter from what I did before. So 4-jaw chuck, got a chunk of wood, just stick it in the chuck. We gotta come up with some way of mounting it to turn the roof. So I'm gonna drill a little pilot hole here. I'm gonna use a screw chuck to hold this roof so I can turn this around. So I'm using a 1/4 inch. If you want, those will come around here in a second. I use a 1/4 inch mag screw for the screw chucks, and so that's a 7/32 hole. Okay, and so now if you will notice in the drawing, there's a little undercut and there's a tenon here. I'm going to undercut that roof so it'll have a little bit of soffit, nice little soffit on there. And so that's what I'm working on now. And so you can watch that. I'm just actually checking the size. Still a square piece of wood. I'm just going to take a detailed gouge now. I'm going to come in here and find the edge, come in nice and gentle, get a nice clean cut here. And then I'm sizing it. I've already turned my body, so I know what size hole I can fit this now, and that's what I'm going to work on this moment. So this doesn't take but a few minutes to do. And there we go, checking the size. It's still a little bit too big.
So you don't use a body to check this out?
Body's heavy. He lost his other box. There we go. Okay. Got screw chucks coming around. And what you're going to see I'll send those around because we're going to be using those in a second. I've got a body that I've already done the undercut on. Okay, done the undercut on that.
You mean a roof?
Roof. I did say body. Roof. It's not been sanded. I just did it quick so I could have this in the throw around. This has a tenon on it, but you're also going to see a blank in there where it's a mortise instead of a tenon. We'll talk about why you might want to do that instead. So there you go. So this is what's coming around now. That's the box of screw chucks. Once again, you can do it on a Morris taper. I don't have a drawbar on that. That's why I probably don't use that much. If the tailstock is up, if you got a piece on there and the tailstock's up, that's perfectly fine because it'll hold it. Okay. This one here sits in a 4-jaw chuck. Use it all the time. And this one, let's talk about this little guy. Need to make a quick one at home to do whatever. Chunk of wood, put a screw in the center, drill a hole, put a screw in the center, maybe a little CA glue to keep it from spinning, and there's a screw chuck. Okay, this is the one I probably use the most, and I went ahead and have tapped it for my spindle, so that's the 1 inch 8 thread. I made that. I can just spin that on, and I've got my screw chuck. I can talk about how I made that later, but go ahead.
What's the screw itself?
This? Oh, here?
Yes.
That's a 1/4 inch mag screw.
Flags.
Lag.
You cut the tip off of.
Yeah, I grind the tip. Yeah. Cause I wanna, I'm kind of basically drilling a flat bottom hole. I kind of want to over drill the hole anyhow, but yeah, you cut the tip off. Oh, there, how about that? Okay, so you want to make a screw chuck, there it is. You, I've done a recess at the bottom, and I'm gonna fill that with epoxy so that it doesn't spin, because it will spin loose may spin loose. You want it tight, you're gonna drill it probably the 7/32 up here while you still get thread. I would drill this down here to the 1/4 inch, maybe a tad more, so you can just get that bolt in there or get that screw in there. But once you've tightened it into that, a little bit of epoxy in there, and all that, you're gonna do all of that first, drilling a hole on the lathe, so it's gonna run true. And those run very nicely. If you've got this a little bit long, you can take it to your grinder, shorten it up a little bit. If you get it a little bit short, you cannot take it to the grinder and put it back on. Okay. All right, so I've taken that one that we've done the undercut to. I've mounted it now. There's 2 different views of it. That'll screw up, and you tighten it. You tighten it so, because it may be a little wonky when you're first putting it on there. Tighten it up. It will pull tight. It will run nice. You can take those off and put those back on, and they'll still run true. So let's turn this roof. Come on. If I was live doing this right now, you guys would have to sweep up later. All right, so this is pretty easy, and I picked a piece of mahogany, so it's really easy to turn. It doesn't take much time. You pick the shape that you want. We got a couple minutes. If there's any questions while this is doing that? Okay, I'm using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge.
Hey,
Yeah,
between the roof and the body,
yeah.
if somebody told me to do that, I would just use a longer piece of wood, but in the opposite direction, like the body center for it, and then use a parting tool to take that piece off
You mean make it out of one piece of wood?
and do the roof the same way.
But I think the contrasting wood is part of it.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
It just gives it a little more, I mean, it would be cool to be all the same, but also you want to sell 2 different.
Yeah, what I didn't do, and I meant to do this, no, I didn't.
I mean, you're wasting a little bit of wood, but I mean, you're,
Yeah, I meant to send this around. This is the old stuff, the original stuff. Look at those. Critique them, because I sure will. But look at those are the originals. And those are mostly, but on some of these I have it one piece for body and finial, but I haven't done anything where it's just one single piece of wood through it all. Okay, so I'm doing the shape on here now. It's a lot of cove. What I'm doing now is I put a little thin neck on these, a little thinner than what the top's going to be. Here, I'm just using a negative rake scraper that needs to be sharpened. Okay, so it's really not doing much. I should have stopped, but the video was running and I thought, I'll just fight through it. You got the idea. So I'm just smoothing stuff up now, and I basically got the shape that I want in this. And so we'll stop this movie because you're not going to see much else. And then I realized I didn't do the diameter I wanted for the roof. It's oversized. It's going to hang out way too far. So I said, well, I'll turn that back on and I'll come back in. And said, oh man. You guys ever done that? Nah. Okay. So I'm just changing the diameter a little bit. I'm gonna do a quick repair. Yeah, that's pretty close. I'm gonna do a quick repair on the curve here.
Leave it flat, somebody put gutter.
I'm sorry.
Leave it flat, somebody put gutter.
Oh, yeah, and you can do that too, and I have. I've done that. I actually put a line in there and you can, or I've cut a little lip onto it. So you get one other little thing around it. But yes, if you look at some of the pictures, you can see some variations there. But yes, you must have gutter. You don't want the bird to get wet.
Downspout.
Downspout, yeah.
Hey, thanks.
Okay, so now what I'm doing now is I'm gonna delineate the very top from the rest of it. Because if you've seen most of what I've done or passed around, the top is black. Okay, you can keep it the same in one piece of wood, but I've tended to like to have a black call it whatever you want at the top. All right, so now a little chamfer on the roof, little so the ring does flow off nicely.
What's that tool, Tim?
That tool is a round skew, 1/4 inch skew.
Hardened steel, sharpened.
Yep, just a piece of drill rod. Find the center, and I did find my tool.
There, I did this again. Did you hurt yourself this time?
No, I'm okay. Here's that drill. Okay, and so now that is done. All right, so finial. And what I've drawn here, I've given you 2 finials. One is an acorn, did acorns forever. And acorns are in all sorts of shapes, so you really can't do a bad acorn. And then I have one that I call, my wife says, she said, that's a tassel. Okay. So chucking options. So now you got little stuff. What are you going to do? Well, if you've got the right chuck, you can just stick a piece of wood in there and off you go. Well, what if you don't? Okay. What if you don't have the small jaws or whatever? You can make sort of a collet chuck if you want. You can turn something, drill a hole in it, take it to a bandsaw or whatever, split it, put it back together and put a smaller piece of wood in there to turn it. That's a nice alternative if you don't have proper joints. Or you can take a really big piece of wood and turn it all the way down to nothing. Okay. So we're going to turn the finial. This does take a little bit longer. And that is just a detail gouge. You know, put this back here.
What are you talking?
I know, I keep dropping it. Put it in the pocket. Yes. Okay, and this, if the sizes on this is going to be about 3/8 of an inch in diameter, and the overall finial when it's done is 5/8 without the tenon. Okay, so add another 1/4 inch to that. You got all excited. This was supposed to go around. Basic kit turned. Oh, about the basic kit. The basic kit is glued on, don't take them off. Turn stuff you can actually take off and look at it if you want. Don't do the perch because you'll lose it. I guarantee you somebody will lose the perch. So you're having fun watching you turn an acorn. Okay, acorn. What you need to know is the acorn has a little point at the end. I lost it. You can't see it because of the chips, but it does come down to just a little bit of a point. saw a wrench come up there. I use a 3/8 wrench as my caliper. I can get in there. I know I'm getting close. It's 3/8. The length of my acorn from tip to top of the cap of the acorn is about 3/8, so I can just get that off the wrench and just get it close. So now I'm just sort of shaping that. I'm hitting to the cap of that. I'll taper this back down now. Oh, look at that, it's beautiful. What squirrel wouldn't want that? Okay, now you kind of see I'm defining the cap of the acorn now. And this is only about 1/8 of an inch wide, so this is getting pretty tight in here. And you've got to watch for the wings not to catch the other side.
So when you do this, are you wearing like magnifying glasses or anything?
Where did I put that? Yes, absolutely. Because I can't see, unlike the rest of you, I can't see much at all. I did have them here.
We have readers.
No, I just have magnifiers that come across. I will find those. But yes, because I can't see anything.
The kind of the headband that you tighten.
No, mine are cheaper than that.
Oh, I was gonna say, those are pretty cheap too.
Yeah.
They're great for everything.
Oh, there.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah,
You're right, that is the
yeah,
one step
but
down.
I can actually put them over a hat.
Uh-huh,
And those work really well.
your hat's not upside down.
This, there is no upside down. Put them any way you want. This way they fall out.
That way you don't.
But this-
abandon them.
I bought these. Bonnie Klein was using those. There's a name from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, what you were just watching in there, you probably saw some other tool come in. Should I back that up? Did you see, I got talking and I've missed it. Let me back that up. There, right there. I've got some other tool in there. I just took whatever this chunk of steel was, cheap tool, and I've just made a U-shaped scraper that I can slide in there to do those. And so, specialty tool. Otherwise, you just kind of chew at it with whatever you have, and then take some sandpaper and sand it smooth. Okay, so this is basically it. That acorn is just about done. The only thing I have to do now is do a tenon. Had an 1/8 inch hole. I'm going to do an 1/8 inch tenon, maybe a little bit smaller. Okay. And I'll cut a chamfer on the top of that to give myself a shadow line. Oh, and the other thing that you have to worry about is what happens, because almost everything you do is going to have a little bit of curvature at the bottom. So you need to undercut. You need to do a little bit of an undercut so that when it all goes together, it comes in tight. Okay. If you forget to do the undercut, what can you do? Well, you can hopefully mount this back on and just flatten it. Give yourself a flat spot. But and when I do the Christmas ornaments, all the caps and finials get a nice undercut on those. So there, I'm cutting the chamfer. This thing is done. Okay, we'll call that one done. All right. Let's look at this collection. all sorts of junk wood on the end, but there are some finials and some beads in there you might want to look at. Okay. The perch. First, please notice the quality of the drawing.
See it, who's cleaning?
The quality of the drawing is amazing. Chucking options again. This is I'm starting with a big piece of about 3/16 square stuff. So do you have a chuck that'll hold that? What I did, I just took a little scrap piece of wood, I drilled a hole in it, and I held it together with some tape, and I can stick it in this chuck and it holds it well enough. Got a long, it's a long piece, I can just feed it at the back. Turn a perch, slide it forward, turn a perch, slide it forward, turn the perch. Okay. Okay, now, this was the first video I did when I was doing these. And if you guys are kind of doing this while you're watching, is because vibration from my lathe was making the camera move. So if you've got a little bit of a sway going on, it gets better once I get this thing turned down. Because but you see this bouncing back and forth, and part of it's the shadowing of this not being of the square stock, and it's not even straight. So this is African blackwood. If you've ever turned that, sharp tool, turning this whole thing with a parting tool, just as nice as can be. It's going to be 1/16 of an inch. And so you check out the end, you find the 16th, and then you just move it in. And I guess for the length, I'm probably doing maybe 3/16, not a quarter of an inch long on those. And I put a little collar, a little bit of a collar on the perch, so that when I push it in, I know where to stop. It makes a nice ending. If the hole is a little bit tight when you're putting the perch in, you can actually put your fingernail on that collar and push a little bit. I have snapped the collars before because they were too narrow. All right, so I've turned the perches now, got the 1/16 turned. You can see the collar forming now. Now I'm just I need to make a tenon that goes in the hole that's in the bottom. So maybe I'll fast forward, not that this is too long, but if we get to the end, that's almost done. I've checked it for size. A little bit of sanding, do whatever you want. This is African blackwood. You didn't want to watch me sand, so I really didn't. Take a piece of brown paper bag and you can burnish that on that African blackwood. You can bring that up real nice. Now I'm going to take this skew. Now this is very small. How many hours do you want to look in the sawdust for it? Have you ever done that? Turned something and then said, oh man, or do you just turn another one? Okay, so what I did with that, I score it with the skew, stop the lathe, and just snap it off. Otherwise, you will drop it into the shavings and you will not find it. I have lost acorn finials the same way, and you know they're in there. And you say, man, I should have cleaned up. Okay, basic kit. Turned. Okay, that went around on the stick. That was the basic kit. There it is, assembled.
What do you use for hangers?
Okay. What I'm using is screw eye top and hangers.
Where do you buy tiny?
Screw eyes. Screw eyes are us. I knew that was going to get asked, and I don't know where I bought the last ones. There used to be a place in Texas that I could buy this stuff 20 years ago, and they're no longer there. But I did go on Amazon at some point. I did find, and these are the little guys, and I bought 500. So I had plenty.
Big problem. I
Well-
spent $10 on 500.
Yeah, but it's but they're brass. They're brass. And so I have them at this size, and then I have the 1/8" size. I have an 1/8" that I used to use. Okay, yeah, questions?
You make the little hanger yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever think about just inserting that into the hole and forget the eye?
You could. What's gonna hold it?
Well, you could bend it. So that when you put it in, it snags when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Well, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
You could put a drop of CA on there and whatever too. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways. Some people don't like the metal hangers. You drill a hole through the side, you put a piece of monofilament through there, and you do that. You do a piece of ribbon. You know, there's all sorts of different things you can do with that. But I like that. Any other questions at this point? All right, let's look at variations. Well, you can always, on the body, is that where I am? Yes, variations. All right, for body variations. Shape of the body, do what you want. Species of wood, okay, that, we've already done that, okay. Here's that rack of things we saw before. Don't look, you're supposed to only be looking at the bodies. But if you look in there, there's all sorts of variety in there. As far as different types of woods and different shapes. Somewhere in my past, and I didn't get this on slide. At some point I had to say I quit working on slides. But somewhere in my past, I was online and I was able to find somebody had done some stuff. Okay. And that was where I decided I liked the shape, that little skinny top. And I started doing those. But different finials on here, different bodies, different roofs. So go online, look at stuff, see, there's lots of people doing this. All right. There's another collection. Notice the A through Q. I was selling them and somebody said, what do you have? And I said, well, which one? Here's a picture, which one? Well, I had to put A, B, C, D so I could figure out. So, okay, body variations. What else can you do? We can do glue ups. You can glue up some stuff. And well, kind of segment. Yeah. So what I do a lot of with that is I will glue a piece on the bottom. I might drill all the way through. Okay. And then I put a different species, and that might be the same species as the roof. So I may do that across there. But here I've put a piece of veneer along, so I think that was cherry, a piece of veneer, and a piece of maple. But you can do all sorts of stuff. That one is in the collection. Collection going around? No. Let's send the collection around. This was the stuff that was hanging earlier. Body variations, that we've seen that one earlier. That was from 2010, 12, whatever, 15. Another variation for the body is to use natural bark. It's easy to turn.
Did you take your calipers out to the woods?
I can pretty much by an eye now do it. The first one I did of these was with this type of bark. And it was something that was growing up in a neglected flower bed. Now, to have gotten that size, it had to have been neglected for many years. So here's this thing growing up, and I thought, wow, that is really some neat bark. That would work well on that. And so that was the first. What it turned out was that the pith was very weak in that. It was all spongy. The dead center was spongy on that, which required really for me to drill it out. But there's with natural bark, we have white birch. Anybody know what that one in the middle is, by the way? I figured it out years later, it's walnut. Neighbor's got a walnut tree, squirrels like to bury walnuts. I have little walnut trees that pop up all around the place. And so I would actually wait. In my neighbor's yard, he had something, he was cleaning up his yard, I said, no, don't cut that, give me a couple of years. And I'll make you a bird nest, so. So birch, walnut, I think that is probably sassafras. So, what do you need? You need a bunch of sticks of the right size. And then it's going to be odd shaped. Okay, so here comes, well, get this around through. This is all the natural bark stuff. But look at this, look at the shapes. Oops, okay, do that. What do you do about the around something? So what I have is a disc, and it's on the tray. I have a disc with a center hole that I can put on top of whatever irregular shape I have chunk of wood, and it gives me mostly what the center is. I can eyeball the center, I can get pretty close. Do that on both sides. Oh, when you cut these, I guarantee you that you will not cut them so that the top and bottom are parallel. So put them between centers and part it down carefully, enough that you can get at least the notion of where the parallel is. Then you can choose, if you bring up just a point center at the end, a V center, you can part way close. You can turn it around and do the thing, just friction drive enough that you can then take a chisel and carve it out to get it flat for drilling and whatever you want to do. But that gives you parallel sides, because what I do on all of these is I put a piece of wood, I glue a piece of wood on the bottom that I then shape, that I will then shape to the whatever the piece of wood is, the chunk of stick is.
You do anything to keep the bark on?
I'm very careful. This bark actually holds pretty well, and in the end, I'll spray a finish on it, and that's all I do. Okay, and that's for this walnut. Its bark is more flaky. The birch, the white birch, the bark actually gets loose. The wood shrinks and the bark kind of sitting out there. So you may want to run a little bit of glue around there to hold it, because you can actually pinch it and feel it. So,
But when you glue the top on, won't that help?
oh, it helps. Yeah. And the same thing with the bottom. Just get some glue there, but you can force a little bit of glue in there to do it. Okay. So what I'm doing here though is I'm just trying to get the two ends parallel to each other. Okay. So there it is, and that's going to be this guy. He's coming around here in just a second. I picked where I wanted the perch to be and the hole to be. I have pre-drilled this with a Forstner. Now you can do that on the lathe, you can do it on the drill press. It will not be centered, it'll be close, you can get, but the real problem is, how do you hold this while you're drilling? If you put a clamp in here and it gets tight and it starts to spin in the clamp, you just really know the bark. Or you crush. And on these, I'm gonna let these stay thick. I'm not worried about getting it real thin. Okay. So what I do on these is if I do it on the lathe, or if I do it, if I'm gonna do it on the lathe, I put the Jacob's chuck in the headstock with the drill bit. I have the center coming up holding this. So the bit's spinning. I'm holding this with my hand from spinning, and you just take your time. Actually, it's this way so that you can crank. And you can feel if it's getting too tough, just back off. If it starts to spin, let go. Okay. It's tricky. If you're doing it with the drill press, it's the same thing. It's tricky to get a hole in there. So you may choose not to. You may say, natural barks, I'm going to take and put a 30 seconds hole. I'm going to put it on a screw chuck, parallel these things, and I'm done. you may choose to leave these solid. Okay? So anyhow, I've got a piece of wood down on the bottom. I made a little tenon just to fit in the hole. Don't have to. I can just flat glue it on there. If it's not quite flat, sand it, you know. Get it to where you need it to be. Okay, so what do you do now that you got this square piece of wood sitting on the bottom? All right, I'm gonna give you two methods. Here I'm in a drill press. I've just got a drum sander. I'm just gonna hold this by hand. I'm gonna tilt away a little bit. I'm gonna tilt this away a little bit, and I'm just gonna work around carefully. I'm just gonna work carefully around here and cut this apart, cut this away. I'll pass this around. You know that tray of, where'd that tray? I was gonna have it in the tray. That can come by itself now. That one is what I'm working on now. This is the one you're seeing. I did not finish it. I let it get close, and I'm truly not finished because I'd go back again with a little finer sandpaper in there and tighten it up a little bit better.
Could you have turned the tenon on one end?
I did.
Oh, you did?
On the inside. It's on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one's actually too thick. That's like I might not want it to be an 1/8 inch thick. I might, so. The thinner it is, the easier it is to do the sanding. But you get the idea of what I'm doing here. And that one, that's pretty simple to do. There's got a little ear there, and I'm gonna work on that. Just a little bit at a time, holding it at a little bit of an angle. Works real well. If you had looked at all those others that went around, those finished ones, it's all the same thing. I used to do it differently. I used to do it with I used to put it on there. I would mark where it was. I'd take a pencil and do it. Then I'd get the Dremel tool and work, and way too much trouble.
So is that, was that 80 grit?
Yes,
Thank you.
that was 80 grit, and it doesn't need to be any better. This is a rough bark bird house. And actually, the 80 grit's pretty good. Okay, so maybe not a drum sander, right? Use a disc sander. Okay, so this is just in the headstock of the lathe. Got a Jacob's chuck in there. I've got a sanding disc, and same deal, same game. Just gonna spin this around. This one is, I could just change it to a finer grit. When you get close, maybe you put 100 grit in there. You're gonna cut slower and get in a little bit tighter for the ins and outs. Okay. All right, roof variations. Well, shapes and species again. You can add some color. All right, so and you saw those come around. I know it's somewhere. No, okay. What I use is a piece of oak, red oak. Dye it. Notice on there, I've got my marker where my black tops. That's just Sharpie. Okay, I cut a line between that Sharpie there. So you want to make them jump, put some liming wax on them. Okay. And there's the red one that I did. How many of you have done liming wax? Okay. And this is the one that I'm working on right now. When the red one comes around, you can see it's hazy. Okay. This one, not so hazy. What do? A little bit of steel wool. Okay. After that, now, it doesn't take long for that liming wax to harden. You can come back, do it on the lathe or off the lathe, doesn't matter. Just you don't need to. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I put the liming wax on there, I dyed it. Whoa, before I dyed it, I've turned this thing, I've sanded it, I'm happy with it. I'm gonna take a toothbrush and I'm gonna scrub it. I might take a wire brush, a brass brush and scrub it. Now, if you use toothbrush, don't use your own,
Usually what?
use your wife's. Just don't tell her, okay? But you scrub it to open up the pores as best you can. And then I'll take it to the air compressor and I will blow it and blow everything out of the pores. Put on my dye, two light coats of lacquer. And then the liming wax, okay? And then the liming wax. So now you've already got a lacquer finish on it. And so when you steel wool it, you're just steel wooling back to the lacquer. The lacquer will penetrate all those little pores. If you've ever had a little pore of something on a finish, you think, I'm gonna put another coat and fill that. No, you're not. So anyhow, that was the putting on the liming wax. Do wear something on your fingers or you will be wearing liming wax for a while. Okay, and so there you go. That was it. And this, you asked earlier about a one-piece finial. In this picture, there's a one piece where the finial is built in.
These boxes you passed around, it looked like all the finials were,
Separate pieces.
no.
The old, the first ones, yes. So anyhow, but if you notice the red one here, it's not liming wax. It's a different wax. So you can use, might have been shoe polish, but there are all sorts of gilding paste that you can use and basically the same thing. And it's gonna do the same thing for you, you just get a different look. All right, so.
You didn't say what kind of dye you used?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I use chestnut dyes because I have chestnut dyes that I bought a long time ago. Okay, so
Is that a brand name?
yeah, it's a brand. It's out of UK. The chestnut dyes have a little bit of shellacking. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but to come back, it's got a little shellac and I did these and I went back out in the shop and I thought there was somebody had been drinking in there because the smell. But bead or not to bead? All right, we're at the top of the roof now. We're talking variations. Are we going to bead this? Are we going to not bead it? What are the truth? Well, I've gotten so I'm not beading it. You wonder why? I'm lazy. All right. I can cut that top. I can put a score line there. I'll probably burn that line. And then the top of that, I can just take a Sharpie, blacken that in, poof, I've got it done. Now, if I wanted to, I could turn a bead on the top and do the same thing. I just haven't done that. Thank you. But that's a choice. If I'm going to do the bead, then instead of drilling that number 59 hole in the end, I'm going to drill an 1/8 inch hole or smaller. I'm going to turn a bead on a tenon. You saw some of those in the tray going around. Turn a bead on a tenon and then just glue it in. I will drill a hole. I will drill a hole in the top for the screw iron. Okay. What else can you do with the roof? Well, you can put some shingles on it. Okay. Shingles, pretty self-explanatory, just a little bit of cuts. Did one of those go around? You saw that in one of them. I had that already set up for that. And all you're gonna do now is just take a wood burner and do some slicing. Okay. Pretty simple. And this one I call thatching. It's the same thing, and that's what really the one I turned around because I put a little more bend in it. But once again, it's a wood burner. I'm just gonna pull a bunch more lines. Okay. That was in one of the boxes that went around, so you've seen that. And then instead of a tenon for the roof, mortise. Okay, why the mortise? probably because of all the natural bark stuff. I can't get a tenon on there, I can't get a hole drilled in the natural bark. That's gonna be in the center, that's gonna make the roof sit right. This thing, my natural bark, that little limb isn't round. So what do? So if you start this off, and I'm still gonna do this on a screw chuck to turn it. But this time I'm gonna put just a little bit of a mortise here. And when I've got my blank up between centers, straightening the ends, I can just leave a little bit proud there that will set in there. And so some of the branch then is gonna hang over that, or I'll make that big enough that the whole branch fits in if it's mostly round. So this is play. This is but this is an alternative. I used to do all my bodies this way. And then one day I said, you could do a tenon, it'd be easier. But I used to do all of them where I would fit each one of those, I would just, instead of fitting the tenon, I would fit that. And it works the same way. Finial variations, well, shapes, species, you can do all, or not. Or not a finial. I do a barrel. So on the barrel, I've actually I've shaped the bottom just a little bit and put a couple burn lines on there, on this paper, there was even a whole bunch of other different shape finials, anything you want. One piece, not. Perch variations. Yeah, exactly. Not much species. If you want, you could change to do something because you want to match the perch to the roof or something like that.
You ever experimented with gluing birds on the bird?
No, because I've not seen a bird yet, one of those that I thought was worthy of the birdhouse. Okay, we're almost done. What we have to do now is assemble and finish. All right, this is pretty quick. You dry fit it. This is my method. I'm going to dry fit the finial to the body. Okay. Do I have bodies? The bodies are right back to me. I'm going to dry fit. Because I want to know before I put glue on it that will actually go in. And it will go in and I can get it all the way in. So dry fit, make sure it'll go in and then you're not having to crank, do it. Get it so it goes in and easy enough. If you've drilled all the way through, when you put it in, you'll have access to the tenon. Then you can crank it in there and just put a drop of glue on it from the inside. If it's solid in there, make sure it's loose enough that when you put a little bit of glue in there, that you can get that all the way in. You probably want to pay attention if your finials, if your acorns or finial, if they have any grain that you'd rather the grain was one direction or another, pay attention to that before you glue it in. Because after a couple seconds, you're probably not going to turn it. Okay, so dry fit is important. Then the perch. Dry fit the perch. You want to make sure it goes in before you stick glue on it. If it's a little bit tight, that's where at some point I had a 16th inch bit on a pin vise. Just stick it in there, run it around a little bit and loosen up that hole so that fits. That you should be able to get access to if you've made the tenon long enough that the body's not too thick, you can just push it in there, put a little dab of glue from the inside. If it's thick, just a little bit of glue in there, stick it, boom, it's not going to come out. I've not had a bird yet tell me it fell off the perch. Okay, now we're at the roof. Now, choice to put the bead on first or not on, that's your choice. I would put the bead on first because once again, I want to dry fit it. What happens if I messed up on my tenon and it's too tight? And I can still actually on the roof, I can still put that back on the screw chuck and mess with the hole with the lathe ring. I'm gonna check the roof, dry fit that to the body, make sure it's not too tight. If it is, little sandpaper in here will loosen it up just nice. Glue it. screw eye on the top or whatever else you're gonna do to take care of that. Sign your name. Don't forget to autograph it. Where? I sign them either on the back, right under the, right on the roof, or I sign them on the back on the soffit. I usually do the soffit if it will show. Hang them up, spray a couple coats of lacquer of your choice. I spray satin on these, and that's it. And there you go. That's in the shop. There's, I think, 8 birdhouses and an ornament hanging in the shop after they've been sprayed. All right, so now what do you do with them? You've got all these birdhouses you just made. You better got to display them. You don't put them on the tree just for the Christmas season. You got to have them out in the house so that people come by and they say, "Oh, that is nice. I wish I had one of those." And you say, "Yes, you may." That's right. And so, but you can come up with all sorts of different displays. So I actually make a wire display that I can put as many arms on it as I want. And the wire is just insulation support wire from Lowe's or Home Depot. And I've got a little jig that I bend the wire with, and it's a easy to do thing.
How do you glue it?
How do you glue them together? You can't.
Oh.
Okay, this one, they're braids.
The braid?
They're braids.
Okay.
Okay, so I've raised them here, but that's a pain when you really don't. So what I do now, I'll go to Hobby Lobby or wherever, and I'll get grass tubing. And I'll get whatever grass tube I need that will accommodate those. And so I might actually use 2 different, because up here I might want to have a smaller one for here. If I can get them to sit in the brass tube, I can force epoxy. I can force epoxy in there. And I've got a jig where all that sits upside down and holds the arms where they need to go. And then when the epoxy hardens, you're there. Yeah, and that's it. And then if you want, you can fill, if you don't want to see those, you can put auto body filler, you can do epoxy, you can do whatever to hide that stuff. But that works out. But initially it was brazing, way too much work. Okay, any final questions?
The base wood?
Hmm?
The base is wood.
I'm sorry.
The base is wood.
Oh, yeah, this base is wood. Yeah, this base is wood. I do these with double-sided tape on a faceplate. Double-sided tape on a faceplate. Spin them, get your hole. Pray that it releases.
Need to put the couple lead weights in there?
No,
No,
it's plenty stable,
pretty stable.
plenty stable.
You actually charge for it.
35.
No.
I know, but I charge more, they're not gonna buy them.
But it gets people opening their wallets.
Yeah.
Then they move up the next week.
Yeah, I'd love to sell them for more than that, but
You've decided on this particular size.
Yes.
Which you duplicate and make all your tools for. But someone else could have a different size.
of course.
I mean, that's not a standard.
Oh, this is the standard, yes. No. Whatever size, whatever. I'm making this as a hang on Christmas tree. I'm making these as a hang on the Christmas tree one.
Didn't you have a little bitty when you started?
Oh! I forgot about that. Did it go around?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. This went around, didn't it?
That's standard size.
Yeah, that's standard.
Earring.
Well, I actually, and I said that. I turned ornaments, earrings for Carol. She's got a set of earrings, and if I were to do another one. Being the wise guy I am. If I had had the magnetic earring. I would have been wearing this today. But I didn't, so I didn't. Being the wise guy. Okay, anybody else, any other questions?
What glue are you using?
Tight bond. Yep, tight bond, everything. Do not put this stuff together with CA. Because it will fail over time. And I know that because I've had ornaments that we've had that just hang around the house, and you go by one day and it's come apart. Because as the wood moves, with seasons, that CAs will fracture. It'll fracture and come apart. So don't use, you use CA for this and that, but I wouldn't, you know, I'll glue my screw eye in if it was loose, put a little CA to help that. Your finial's not gonna fall out because of CA, but the roof and the body might come apart.
Have you ever made any, functional signs that hang in the tree in the backyard with birds?
No. No, I don't like my birds that much. I feed them, but that's. I don't offer housing.
Yeah.
That's right, no housing.
Be nice to turn one that, you know, these birdhouses that are become so popular that have a camera in them
Oh, yeah.
and identify the bird for you. And so on. It'd be nice to have one that was big enough that you could mount that system in. The,
I was gonna say, Susan, well, do it.
Yep.
Bring it in,
Yeah.
show and tell. Absolutely. Okay, I promise you guys a bonus. If you stay till the end. Look at this, right on time. Okay, you've done this. You turn the body. You can turn the roof. There's a bead, actually, there's two beads, just different angles. There, put the roof on the body. Put the bead on. Stick another bead on, and you've got a gnome. Those gnomes are nothing but birdhouses with a little bit of fur, and that's all there is to it.
Are you trapping muskrats for that or what?
No, I just check your place for shedding.
do these sell for 35 too?
No, those actually sell less. Those I actually sell less. Cause I didn't think anybody would spend, because there's not as much work, there's not much work. in
Yeah,
these.
anyway, the cutest.
All right, here is that guy. Okay, here is that guy. There's V for the top. There's the bead for the nose. Sure. There's your guy.
You need a little glue on that normally or not?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, what I will do with these, I won't put the top on yet. I'll get this all put together. And if you check them out online as to how they do these, what they will do is they'll take that whatever little piece of faux fur that you have here, and they'll split it and then they'll move it up around that. I don't do that. I just fold it over, find the center, and I punch a hole. I cut a hole for that. And so now that automatically is gonna put this guy here, and it's gonna hold it there while I work on it. And so then at this point, I probably will put the top on it and glue the top on, playing with whatever grains. I didn't speak about this, but when you put the tops on, pay attention to the grain and what grain you want to show on your birdhouse. So I've got this sitting, but now this is all floppy on the sides. And what I use is Eileen's, what's the glue?
Oh, melt. The glue gun melt.
No, I don't use the glue gun because it, strings everywhere. It catches in the fur or whatever. It's a thick glue, it's a craft glue.
Yeah.
Tacky glue, there you go. And what I will do on that is I will take and come, I don't want it to squeeze out, but I'll put some tacky glue here, or I'll take a pencil and mark it and stick it here, okay? It's not gonna fall off because the nose holds it on. And so I'll do that from both sides, and I didn't bring it with me, but what I just have a piece of paper, strip of paper, with a little cutout for the nose. I wrap the strip of paper around here and put a clothespin on the back, and it holds it tight. It holds it tight while I draw, and then I just hang them up. And it's just sitting there. I've got a picture, if somebody stays later, I've got a picture on the phone with the face wrap. And that's it. You can comb them out. You can do all sorts of stuff with this, and they're actually a neat little project. And I do the red hat, white bead, and white beard, and there's your little Santa. So that's it.
What are those beards sold as? I mean,
It's faux fur. You can go to Hobby Lobby, and they sell a 3-pack, which is probably 1 foot long by maybe 8 inches wide. And in the 3-pack, you get the brown, you get the gray and white, and then you get the white. And you've got enough fur to make oodles of these guys. And I cut them. And if you look at the back and in the size, I mean, I'm only cutting a 1 by 2 inch or so piece. I'm only wrapping it halfway around, 1 by 2 inch piece of this. And I cut it with a real sharp utility knife, and I only cut deep enough to catch the backing. I'm not pressing, I'm real careful with that. And that's it. And then to find the hole, I just fold it over. I've got a measurement that where I want it, I just fold it over and snip it. And then I'll actually run a punch through it to make sure it's big enough. And then that's it. And then you'll get loose fur. You have to comb them out. You comb out your beard, right? Of course. Yeah. So you comb out your beard, and that's it. Okay, well.
That was well timed.
Thank you, Tim.